Welcome to my channel. Today we're exploring Stellar Defiance, a sci-fi journey where humanity stands strong and defies the odds across the galaxy. Dive into epic starship battles, powerful tech, and the resilience that makes us unstoppable in a universe full of challenges. If you're ready for a thrill-packed adventure in deep space, hit subscribe and let's get started. The vastness of space had always been a promise of limitless possibility. But for centuries, humanity had been shackled under the watchful eyes of the Concordat, a coalition of ancient alien races that had risen to power long before humanity had ventured beyond Earth. What began as an era of cooperation and prosperity soon became an oppressive system, where the most powerful species in the galaxy dictated the fate of the lesser ones, relegating them to the role of subordinates. For the human race, this was an unacceptable future. At first, it seemed like the Concordat was a fair alliance, offering advanced technologies and protection from cosmic threats in exchange for membership. Humanity, fresh from the unification of its home planet and its first tentative steps into space, welcomed the opportunity to join this cosmic order. The promise of security, wealth, and technological advancements was irresistible, and so the decision was made to fall in line, submitting to the Concordat's rules. Human colonies scattered across the stars flourished under the Concordat's guidance, but this prosperity came at a price. The higher-ups, the Rethu, Silvaris, and Zoltran, watched humanity with a calculating eye, recognizing in the human spirit a dangerous potential that could one day threaten their established power. Despite their apparent support of the Concordat's ideals, humans were never fully accepted into the ranks of the elder races. To the Council of Elders, humanity was a new and volatile element in the galaxy, a species whose unpredictability posed a constant threat to the careful balance of power. Humans were forced into a lower caste within the Concordat, their autonomy stripped away by the whims of bureaucrats and overseers from other species. Humanity's rapid advancement, once a symbol of hope, now became a source of discomfort for the elders. The humans, with their adaptability, creativity, and unyielding drive, had begun to push the boundaries of the Concordat's restrictive rule. As the centuries wore on, resentment simmered beneath the surface. While the Concordat's leadership held the reins of power in the galaxy, the human colonies were subjected to ever tighter controls. Humanity's once promising colonies on distant worlds were kept under strict surveillance. Their scientific breakthroughs were routinely confiscated by the elders, citing reasons of security or technological parity. The best minds of humanity were forced into compliance, their discoveries hoarded by the alien elites, who felt a sense of superiority over the younger species. Even the most basic elements of human culture, their art, their history, their sense of identity, were suppressed or twisted to align with the Concordat's vision. It was in this oppressive atmosphere that Admiral Marcus Drake, once a high-ranking officer in the Concordat's peacekeeping forces, began to see the truth. Drake had always been a believer in unity and cooperation between species, but the more he witnessed the subtle injustices and overt cruelty of the Concordat system, the more his ideals began to fracture. It started with the forced relocation of a human colony on the edge of the Taos Nebula. The colony was to be used as a resource hub for the Concordat's military fleet, and the local government was given an ultimatum: submit or face annihilation. When the human leaders of the colony refused to comply, the Concordat responded with swift and overwhelming force, erasing the settlement from existence without a second thought. The incident was hushed up by the Concordat's media channels, but Drake, who had witnessed it firsthand, could not forget. His personal awakening was not a singular moment, but the culmination of countless smaller injustices. For years, Drake had been part of the Concordat's military forces, serving under alien commanders, who, though seemingly respectful, maintained an unspoken hierarchy that kept humanity in a subservient position. When he was reassigned to the Rethu sector, where human colonies were under constant surveillance and heavy restrictions, the full extent of the Council's control became painfully clear. He was sent to oversee a routine mission, one that seemed innocuous at first, but it soon became evident that the operation was not about peacekeeping. It was about reinforcing the Concordat's authority, crushing any attempt by humans to assert themselves, and suppressing any trace of rebellion before it could take root. Drake found himself questioning the very foundation of the Concordat's mission. What began as a noble cause to unite the galaxy in peace had long since degenerated into a regime of control, manipulation, and exploitation. He could not remain loyal to a system that valued the lives of his fellow humans so little. It was then that he made the decision that would forever change the course of human history. He defected from the Concordat. It wasn't an easy decision. Drake was not alone in his feelings, but the consequences of disobedience were grave. He knew that by turning his back on the Concordat, he would become an enemy of the galaxy's most powerful military force. The cost of rebellion would be steep, not just for him, but for everyone he cared about. Yet, in the end, it was his conscience that won. He reached out to others, human leaders and military officers who shared his growing disillusionment. Slowly, a network of sympathizers began to form. The Free Human League was born from this clandestine movement. It began as a small group of rebels, military officers, politicians, engineers, and civilians who were dedicated to one common cause: freeing humanity from the chokehold of the Concordat. They operated in secret, their communications encrypted, and their movements hidden. Drake became their figurehead, a symbol of defiance and hope. Their first task was clear: reclaim their freedom at any cost. The League's first act of defiance was the Mara standoff, an event that would become a rallying cry for all those who had suffered under the Concordat's rule. The human colony on Mara, a prosperous mining world in the Outer Rim, was suddenly the subject of a brutal blockade. The Concordat had issued an ultimatum: cease all independent mining operations and submit to direct Concordat oversight or face military retribution. Elena Voronov, the governor of Mara IV, refused to comply, rallying the planet's citizens with impassioned speeches and promises of resistance. The blockade was a brutal move by the Concordat, a clear message to the rest of the galaxy that any disobedience would be met with force. Yet, despite being outgunned, Mara IV fought back with surprising tenacity. Local militias, armed with makeshift weapons and sheer willpower, engaged the Concordat's forces in a series of ambushes. The blockade dragged on for months, but the unity of the people of Mara IV sparked something greater, a fire that would spread across the galaxy. The human spirit, so often underestimated by the elder species, was not one to be easily quashed. At the heart of this resistance was Admiral Marcus Drake. From the shadows of his hidden command center, Drake coordinated attacks on Concordat supply lines and military installations, striking with precision and ferocity. The League quickly learned how to exploit the Concordat's weaknesses, particularly their reliance on overconfident alien commanders who underestimated the humans' resourcefulness and adaptability. In a battle that became legendary, the Free Human League managed to score a rare victory, sabotaging a Concordat supply convoy and seizing a valuable cargo ship. This act of rebellion, though small in the grand scheme of things, became a symbol of human resistance. The Concordat, enraged by these early victories, decided to take drastic measures. They issued a decree demanding that all human military assets be turned over to Concordat control. When the humans refused, the full might of the Concordat fleet was unleashed. But the Free Human League, now united and strengthened by its cause, began to fight back with unprecedented resolve. What followed was a war unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. It was a war not just for survival, but for humanity's right to chart its own destiny. The early stages of the war were disastrous for humanity. The Concordat's forces were far more advanced, their ships larger, faster, and equipped with devastating weapons. The Free Human League's ships were ragtag collections of civilian freighters, retrofitted with weapons, scavenged from old military stockpiles. But humanity's greatest strength lay not in their ships or weapons, but in their will to fight. For every loss, they gained new insights, learning from their failures and adapting. What they lacked in firepower, they made up for in ingenuity. The war dragged on, and each victory was hard-won. In the remote systems of the galaxy, the Free Human League waged guerrilla warfare against the Concordat supply chains, disrupting their logistics and communications. Meanwhile, the League expanded its ranks, forging alliances with other oppressed species who had long suffered under the Concordat's iron grip. The Valkyrians, a fierce warrior race from the Outer Rim, joined the rebellion after seeing the brutality of the Concordat firsthand. Their advanced warships, nimble and deadly, became an invaluable asset to the Free Human League. As the war raged on, it became clear that humanity would not be cowed. With each battle, they grew stronger, learning from their enemies and turning the tide of the war. The Free Human League, once a small resistance group, was now a formidable force in its own right. The conflict had escalated beyond the bounds of mere survival. It had become a struggle for the very soul of humanity. With every victory, every conquest, the human race proved to itself and the galaxy that they would not be slaves, that they were no longer the subjugated species of the Concordate, but the masters of their own fate.
The rebellion, once thought to be nothing more than a fleeting moment in history, was now an unstoppable force. When humans rebelled against the stars, they did not just challenge the might of the Concordat. They ignited a fire within the galaxy, one that would burn through the darkness, setting a new course for the future of all species.